Good morning. Good morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. I do need to press a button to welcome Mr. Drew into the chat. Morning, Nick. Thank you for joining us. I pressed the button on everybody else. I just didn't get around to him. And good morning to Kerry Jones, who's just joined us. Don't have a button for you yet, Kerry. Need to sort that one out. Yes. How are you all doing today? Under normal circumstances, I would now be saying, thank God it's Friday. But these days, that would mean I was peaking a bit too early. Despite the fact that I got virtually no sleep whatsoever last night, I'll be back here again at 1 p.m. today with the latest outing of our construction equipment news show. I can't tell you what's in the show because, frankly, I haven't written it yet, but I can tell you there is something exciting and new from the fine folks at Volvo. So if you would like to, please join us for that. Particularly as I'm pulling a double shift on virtually no sleep, your support would be much appreciated. Given the fact that I'm pulling a double shift, what say we just get cracking with today's show? And without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. It's an interesting one. Ken Hatcher didn't sleep well last night either. We are of one mind, Ken. We are psychically bonded, perhaps. It is Friday, the 2nd of June. Lord alone knows how, but it is. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's show, we're taking a closer look at the new generation of case backhoe loaders. We're mining with a monster excavator from XCMG. We're visiting Turner Mining, to find out what they look for in a bucket. Plus, we see what Volvo is doing to combat waste whilst simultaneously aiding sustainability. And we're going to get to all of that in just a second. But first, let's take a peer back through the mists of time to see what was going on this day in history. And on this day in 1835, P.T. Barnum, you know, the showman, and his circus began their first tour of America. A bit like a circus around here at times. In 1873, construction began on the world's first cable railroad in San Francisco. No great surprise there. In 1896, Marconi applied for a patent on his wireless telegraph system in the US. Who'd have thought 100 plus years later, this would be the means of communication. In 1953, on this day in history, Queen Elizabeth II was crowned at Westminster Abbey. I wonder if she realised what she was letting herself in for all that time ago. In 1989, the movie Dead Poets Society premiered, and on this day in 2002, The Wire, fantastic TV series, premiered on US TV channels. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, let me remind you of the question of the day, and let me do so by using my new computer avatar. Yeah. What is the strangest thing you've ever seen or heard? And to give you some context, here's one of mine. Back in 2009, my youngest daughter and I were at the Glastonbury Festival. About 2:30 in the morning, we heard a group of people walking past outside our tent. Nothing unusual in that. But we heard one of them say, and they said this absolutely clearly. This wasn't a drunken dream. They absolutely said this. They said, and remember, if they start trouble, we have baguettes. To this day, I really regret not jumping out of the tent to find out what the hell they were talking about it. Remember, if they start trouble, we have baguettes. If you can beat that, I'd love to hear from you. Let me know your strangest sights, your strangest sounds that you've ever heard. Let me know in the chat. We'll come back to that at the end of the show. backhoe loader, the trusty workhorse of construction sites up and down the land and across the world. There's been a lot of talk about the backhoe falling out of fashion, being replaced by upstarts like the mini excavator and the telehandler. But if case are to be believed, any talk of the backhoe loader's demise are somewhat premature.
The Case brand has always been a frontrunner in the tractor-loaded backhoe industry. We have built a rich heritage of industry firsts, with best-in-class performance and components, supremely reliable and well-proven technology, and productivity-boosting solutions. Even in our Pithampur plant since 1989, when the facility was built, the backhoe loader has been the flagship of our manufacturing process. Among them, the V-Series range includes models with power ranging from 86 to 97 horsepower, that offers uncompromising comfort, productivity, and profitability. The V-Series features a brand new cabin with a redesigned exterior and interior style. Operators will be more comfortable and consequently more productive in the ample space and with the many features developed to improve life on board. The front and left console have been redesigned to grant superior and easy accessibility into the cab, thanks to a complete set of adjustments done for the King Class seat. Once inside, the operator will easily find the perfect working position. When swiveling from loader to backhoe position and vice versa, the improved feet and knee clearance provide maximum comfort even to the tallest of the operators. The machine also provides best-in-class storage capacity. The operator will find plenty of space to store their items and keep them protected, including 2 lockable compartments, one of which is refrigerated, 2 bottle or cup holders, and 4 open trays. The right-hand pillar has been redesigned. Commonly used features can be easily reached when seated in both the loader and backhoe positions. A cell phone holder has also been integrated into the right-hand pillar. The loader levers have been thoughtfully repositioned to be easily reachable during operation. The front console is equipped with a speedometer and provides superior visibility of the loader arm. Visibility on the rear has been greatly improved by the new additional rear side glasses. So even in the most challenging situations, the operator will benefit from excellent 360-degree visibility. Easy serviceability is one of the key hallmarks of these machines. Thanks to the front tilting engine hood and the perfect layout of the components enable fast, routine maintenance operations. All the main checkpoints, such as oils and filters or the battery switch, are easily accessible from the ground. All fuses and relays are comfortably located within easy reach, even when standing outside the cab. The V-Series machines are equipped with the proven FPT engine that delivers high performance and reliability with low maintenance costs. With this engine and the outstanding driveline, you can always count on best-in-class power, traction, and torque density on any terrain. Our inline cylinder layout provides high resistance by distributing the stress along the entire boom, while providing great visibility across the boom. Its extender hoe is lighter at the tip of the arm for faster operations and top reachability. Rediscover operator comfort, experience class-leading productivity, and achieve profitability never aimed before with the all-new V-Series backhoe loader from Case Construction.
The backhoe loader. Might be just sentimentality on my part, but if I was starting a one-man plant hire business tomorrow, and you don't know, I could happen, I would start it with a backhoe loader. I still think that the versatility would make it a great machine to have at your disposal, and I think it would be a great mobile office as well. Lots of chat about backhoe loaders in the chat today, and one that I found really remarkable. I don't know why, because countries do tend to vary. You think Luxembourg? It's not that far away. It's just a hop over the channel, and to the left, possibly. I'm not looking at a map, but roughly. Turn over the channel, turn left. And yeah, Al Grierson says, still not seen a single backhoe loader in Luxembourg in the last 6 years. And yet here, you could throw a hoop out your window and you'd probably catch yourself a backhoe loader. Very, very strange. Let's have a look. Nigel Williams, good morning. Nigel says, the backhoe loader is king because it can do everything competently and efficiently. Here in the West, we have moved further towards specialization, and as a consequence, the move away from versatility has seen it become obsolete. Obsolete. Wouldn't that be a terrible tragedy if the backhoe did actually become entirely obsolete? Can't see it myself, but you never know. And as there's Dan Cullen. Morning, Dan. Good backhoe is very versatile indeed. Totally agree. Now we need to move along with one of these. We are going to stray into mining territory a bit on today's show. In a few minutes, we're going to be heading to the US to find out what a mining company looks for in an excavator bucket. But first, we're going to swing by China. Yes, we're going around the world the long way to see the latest mining excavator offering from those fine folks at XCMG. And I can assure you, this is a bit of a beast. Pretty good, right? I actually saw yesterday, I don't know if anybody else spotted this, the new Yellow Table was published. For those of you that don't know, the Yellow Table lists construction equipment manufacturers according to global sales figures. For the second successive year, XCMG was in third position, just behind Komatsu. I didn't get a chance to check whether they were actually closing in on Komatsu, but they are certainly in third position. Proper global force. And they're headed this way. They'll be at Plant Works in 11 days' time. Mark it in your diary. quite a lot of feedback on the on the singer that we just heard. Al Grierson, on one hand, says, love Mongolian throat singing. I understand that's quite a big deal over in Luxembourg. They don't get out much. But Gary Muirhead has a different take, who says that singer better stay off the fags. Fair comment. Nigel Williams, with something far more appropriate, says, XCMG more than have the ability to demolish all of our known brands, but the wariness of cheap Chinese equipment will never let them get off the ground here in the UK. For some strange reason, I think that even if you offered them brand new or free to contractors, they'd still rather punt on an old second-hand Cat or Volvo. Would they? Would they? Look at what Lugong have achieved, and specifically Lugong have achieved in the field of demolition. One of the toughest applications known to mankind, certainly here in the UK. And Lugong have made some serious inroads, and not just selling one or two machines and possibly giving them away. They have sold them, and they've done repeat business. Nigel, you and I generally see eye to eye, but I think the day will come when we will see XCMG doing the rounds right here in the UK, quite possibly starting with plant works this year. Now, if you're one of those many that watches YouTube or listens to industry podcasts, you'll probably be familiar with the name Turner Mining, or more specifically, you might know the name Keaton Turner. Over the past few years, the company and the man behind the company have established quite a reputation in social media circles. But there's more to the company than just talk. They also know their buckets.
It's probably, in this environment, a month, maybe 2 months, and the bucket's paid for itself. You do not get much more efficient in the way of moving the earth than that setup. I'm Keaton Turner, President and CEO of Turner Mining Group. Turner Mining Group is a nationwide mine services provider. We specialize in contract mining, mine infrastructure projects, mine reclamation. 6 years in, it's been a wild ride. Today, we're shy of 300 employees. We're working on projects, longer term projects. We've got the pleasure today of standing in one of the largest production frac sand facilities in Texas. It looks like the surface of Mars. Some days it feels like the surface of Mars. It's a big production. We've got 2 of these loading units and I think 17 haul trucks on site. It's fun to see it all come together. For the first bucket we got, the ROI calculation was really important. We wanted to know, okay, this is a new product. It looks different. It's not a conventional bucket. How many buckets is it gonna take per cycle of loading a truck before that thing has paid itself off? The first one, we had to do some of that math. Once we saw it in action, we didn't have to do the math. We had it in a hard rock quarry, and it was impressive. It got a lot of looks at first, but when you can cut a bucket off of each truck cycle, makes a big difference. This is a production operation, high volumes, load counts everything, behind safety. Having a little bit more efficient cycle, it's a no-brainer. The buckets just perform. We haven't seen any cracking on this bucket, and this bucket's moved millions of yards of material. Everything from really good gravy digging to really bad conditions, bad digging. Not only is the increase in cycle time a huge win for us and efficiency gain, also downtime for bucket repairs. Most buckets in the applications we put them in, if you get a year, 2 years before a rebuild, you've got a really good bucket. This bucket is now, I think, going on 3 years and a lot of millions of yards of earth moved. It speaks for itself. We love the product.
Yep, really is a beast of a bucket. A few good comments on the bucket, which we'll come back to at the end of the show. I guess when your livelihood depends upon constantly moving material, you probably get quite choosy about your buckets and attachments, but that really was a phenomenal machine and a phenomenal bucket as well. Now, we'll do something else, but we'll do it after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
Our final film of the day features Volvo, a company that seems to be going above and beyond to help safeguard the planet. We reported previously on their use of fossil-free steel, and now they're pioneering, or how they're pioneering rather, in the field of electric equipment to reduce emissions. Well, the film you're about to see is something of a double whammy. Not only does it feature electric machines that are reducing emissions, but it also features a Swedish customer that is using those machines to recycle and recover waste to further reduce environmental impact. Take a look at this.
Waste is so much more than just a byproduct of industrial production. It is a massive opportunity. I am Marika Björnum, Head of Purchasing here at Stena Recycling Sweden. Stena Recycling was started over 80 years ago as a small local scrap dealer. Today, it is the leading recycling company in Sweden. We recycle the most complex materials and products from cars to batteries to plastics and electronics. Over 3.6 million tons of materials every year. Since our business is all about sustainability, we try our best to use machines that don't rely on fossil fuels when possible. That's why we use Volvo Construction Equipment's electric machines to get the job done. This Volvo machine is 100% electric and produces 0 emissions. This means a CO2 reduction of about 21 tons per year compared to a diesel machine. It is also more efficient, with energy costs reduced by 83% per year. This Volvo ECR25 has been working for more than 3,000 hours and moves around 20 tons of plastics daily. If we stacked up the material this machine moves, in just 1 week it would be taller than the Eiffel Tower. Isn't that amazing? We only charge this machine on short coffee breaks and between loading cycles. And that's all it needs. Our vision is to replace the use of virgin materials with recycled raw materials across industries. It's great to partner with Volvo CE for our equipment, because we share a commitment to build a better, more circular and sustainable world.
If anyone can save the planet, maybe Volvo can. Today's gripe is against my own brain. I realise that's pretty specific, but I'm sure I'm not alone in this. Yesterday was a funny old day. I was working on an audio podcast and on a new feature-length video featuring the new NFDC president, Mr. John Lynch. I also had a Microsoft Teams meeting yesterday about a face-to-face meeting that I'm hosting on Thursday next week. And then at about 10:30 last night, we received a call to say that my father-in-law had taken a fall and couldn't get himself back up again. So I drove around to help him. Thankfully, he's uninjured, and he's absolutely fine. So I flopped into bed last night at about 11:45, and my body was saying, thank God for that. It's been a long day. My brain, however, had other plans. It started by recapping all that I'd done during the day and all that I should have done. Then it started to draw up a list of things that I hadn't finished and that I needed to work on this morning. It decided to start planning the details of my meeting on Thursday next week, including my chosen outfit, even though it's still a week away. And then it just started to go off on little flights of fancy, pondering things like, what was the name of the bass player with Guns N' Roses, and who sang Walking Back to Happiness? If you're asking, Duff McKagan and Helen Shapiro, in that order. I figured that out at about 3 o'clock this morning. So at 3 o'clock this morning, I was wide awake and I was merely an onlooker as my brain just went from one thing to another. I woke this morning feeling tired. Worse still, all the great ideas that my mind had had while it was on autopilot last night have now fallen out of my head. And I still haven't located the off switch for my brain. If anyone can find one of those, I'd really love to hear from you. That's my gripe of the day, but I'd love to hear yours. And don't forget our question of the day as well. What is the strangest thing you've ever seen or heard? We've got a corker from Gary Muirhead. We'll come back to that in just a second. But if you've got any more you'd like to share, please let us know. On the gripe of the day, the gripe of the day therapy session will return. at some point. But that pretty much wraps up the main part of this morning's show. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around for that, then please stay safe, look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Have a good day. Have a good weekend, in fact. But if you do have the time and the inclination, stick around after we hear from our key show sponsor for the Craic. Let's get the volume right on the music and we're good to go. Right. Let me go right back to the very beginning. We're back on an even keel today. Traditionally, the first two people off the mark on this show are usually Ken Hatcher and Gary Muirhead, who tend to vie for first and second place on a daily basis. Today, Ken Hatcher was first into the hot seat, closely followed, and I do mean literally seconds later, by our friend Gary Muirhead, who says, "Good morning, Mark. Good morning, guys. Happy Friday, everyone." Yes, I will echo that. Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you're all fit and well. There's our friend Irvin, who has become a show regular. We need to get you a button on my stream deck, Irvin, to save me typing good morning to you. But thank you for joining us from LinkedIn land. You are always welcome, sir. Who else was on the list here? Let's have a look. Mick Norton's in the house. Morning, Mick. Thank you for joining us. Craig Williams is here as well. Good morning, Craig. Another person that's becoming a very a reliable show regular. The mighty Nick Drew, the Diggerman blog himself, the Diggerman blogger himself. He's not a blog, he's a blogger. He's in the house. Morning, Mark. Morning, all, and thank God it's Friday. Yeah, but Nick, you are like me. Thank God it's Friday. Yes, I realise it's something we say. Are you working tomorrow, mate? I am. And I bet you are as well. That's the way it works. Kerry Jones is in the house from Welsh, Wales. Morning, Kerry. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Just as a very quick aside, I had my Microsoft Teams meeting yesterday was talking to a publishing company completely outside this industry, who have been watching what I've been doing with this show and various other bits and pieces. And they've been picking my brains. I'm going to see them on Thursday of next week. And trying to explain to them that people like Kerry and like Gary and Ken and Mick and Jeff Pinion and all these people turn up every single day to watch this. I mean, it was, as I say, it was a Microsoft Teams meeting. They were on my screen, and I could tell I think they thought I was mad. The fact that people turn up every single day to talk diggers. And yet, here we are. And I'm glad of it. Ken Hatcher had I think part of my problem last night, as I say, it was a late night because of my father-in-law taking a tumble, thankfully uninjured. He's recently had heart surgery, so he's as weak as a kitten, to be honest. Under normal circumstances, I'm sure he could have got himself up off the floor, but not last night. So, but yeah, I mean that was playing on my mind. But also, the weather is warmer now, so one of our bedroom windows is open, and you hear everything. Fox's footsteps out, well, not their footsteps, but foxes arsing about on the front drive. You hear them, and you hear car doors closing and cars starting up, and yeah, struggling to sleep at the moment. But yeah, hopefully, and those this afternoon might be in order. Our friend Mantis is here as well, another of the LinkedIn crew. Morning, Mantis. Thank you very much indeed for being here. Glenn Johnston's in the house, as is the mighty Al Grierson. We didn't celebrate yesterday, obviously World Al Grierson Day, because it was Thursday. But good morning, Mark. Good morning, gang. He says, Nigel Williams, fast becoming my favourite podcaster. Good morning, one and all, he says. And if you haven't checked it out, you do need to, from the seat of the cab, just go to any decent podcast provider, and some of the crap ones too, and you will find from the seat of the cab. Well worth a listen. Mark Whiting, that was a listen, by the way, not a listen. Mark Whiting's here as well. Morning, Mark. And all, thank you very much indeed for being here. Now, I said that Gary Muirhead had a treat for us in store. What is the strangest thing you've seen or heard? Question of the day. I think I've mentioned this before, but it was a cross-dressing JCB 3CX driver with lipstick, painted nails, wig, and dress. That would stick out in the memory, wouldn't it? Hey, listen, each to their own, but if you're just going about your business on site and there you find yourself a cross-dressing JCB 3CX driver, it would stop you in your tracks a bit, I think. I have to say, I admire the guy's bravery for doing it on a UK construction site, because I would imagine you'd get a fair degree of stick for that. Wrongly, obviously, but so fair play. Hats off to the guy for his brass neck, as they say. Ken Hatcher says, and we're talking case backhoe loaders here, I did 30 years on a backhoe, including a case. So given your 30 years, I'm going to take a wild stab and guess that in amongst all of that, there was probably a JCB or two, there was probably a cat or two. Who makes the best backhoe loader, Ken, in your opinion? I'm not saying this is categorical, but I'd love to hear your opinion. Who makes the best backhoe loader? I can confirm in India the backhoe loader is king. Absolutely right. Now, I think this is an answer to the strangest thing you've seen or heard. Thailand. For both, apparently, according to Craig Williams. No pallet forks on the front bucket. That's the case backhoe loader again. And I think we've got an answer to that. Dan Cullen is in the house. Morning, Dan. Yeah, Gary Muir had different specs for different countries. I'm sure that is the case. Dan Cullen says that looks a tidy 180. It certainly does. Not in India. It's unusual to have four-wheel drive, 4-in-1, and extender hoe. Is it a really stripped down backhoe loader in India? That's my guess. I don't know whether there's any truth in that. Still not seen a single backhoe loader in Luxembourg. Is there a ban in place? Have they decided, no, that's one bucket too many, you'll make do with one, damn you? Or is it just they're just not cool and hip and groovy like they are here? Sort of. Craig Williams is back on Thailand again. Best yet strangest experience yet, he says. I'd like to know what you've got planned. You're going to plant works, aren't you? That'll be a strange experience for you. Good morning, all. There is the man that is most welcome amongst all, James Noble. Morning, James. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're fitting well, my friend. And Gary Muirhead echoes that. Good morning, James, he says. Nigel Williams, when I can get it up. The backhoe loader is king because it can do everything competently and efficiently. Here in the West, we've moved further towards specialisation. As a consequence, the move away from versatility has seen it become obsolete. It's quite a strange thing, that, isn't it? I always think there's kind of an action and a reaction. I'm just happen to be looking at my phone. My phone is sat on my desk here. It's off. My phone is sat on my desk here. I could have a mobile phone and a wallet and a computer and a calendar and a diary, but I've chosen to go for the all-in-one option. The backhoe loader of devices. All-in-one, like the Swiss Army knife, the all-in-one option. And yet, as Nigel has rightly pointed out, there are some that have decided, actually, no, we want one tool per application. And we're going to push the backhoe loader to the very edge of existence. I'm sure there are arguments for both, but it is strange that in some instances we are very keen to have everything under one roof, and in others we want multiple things under that roof. If I could explain it, I would probably be a very rich man. I can't, and I'm not. Yes, a good backhoe is very versatile. Also, always forgive me if you're a really good dozer operator or a really good grader operator or a good dump truck operator. But I always thought the backhoe loader was not a test, but it requires, as Liam Neeson said, a very special set of skills. Because obviously you're digging and obviously you're loading. A lot of the backhoe loaders, you've got the offset boom business to deal with. You're roading a lot as well, travelling from one venue to another, one site to another. It requires a very special set of skills. Do we lose that special set of skills if backhoe loaders are pushed to the edge of existence and then over the edge? Answers on a postcard. I spent years on a Cat 428. Canwai, don't know what that means. Peter McKenna is in the house. Our friend Sicknote. Morning, Peter. Good to have you here. Hope you're feeling well, my friend. Case should have concentrated more on the application of the backhoe rather than the shovel and cab niceties like a phone holder. The problem is with that, Mick, and I can see what you're saying, and to a large degree, I kind of agree. But the battleground for machine sales these days tends to be fought beyond the capabilities of the machine itself. We're at a stage, I think, where you expect a machine's engine, whether it's a backhoe loader, excavator, wheel loader, dump truck dozer, you expect it to be of a certain quality, you expect it to be stage 5 compliant, you expect it to meet all the emissions regulations, you expect it to be reliable. You expect the transmission in whatever machine you're operating to be reliable. You expect all of these things, and you know, if really and truly, if you took a lineup of, let's say, 20-ton excavators from Cat, Hitachi, Kobelco, JCB, Lugong, Sany, whoever else, and put them all side by side, the absolute truth is there'd probably be precious little difference in their ability to dig, the speed with which they did so, and the overall productivity. There would literally be a fag paper between all of them. Where sales on, or where sales and marketing, and therefore sales of machines are being fought, is the add-ons, and it's exactly the same in the car market. You know, you expect a Ford and a Hyundai and a Kia and a Renault and a Citroen to be roughly equal. But what do you get for the driver? Do you get your Bluetooth connectivity? Do you get your ABS braking? Do you get your GPS and your sat-nav and all of the bells and whistles? And I have to say, things like phone holders, I realise it's a minor detail, but if you are totally evenly matched, you know, and I'm going to do this off the top of my head, if you put a Komatsu, a Cat, a JCB, and a Case side by side, backhoe loader side by side, what is there to choose between all of them? Chances are some of them may even be using the same components in terms of engines, hydraulic pumps, transmissions, whatever it might be. Very, very little to choose between them. So I'm not saying that somebody is going to buy a backhoe loader just because it's got a phone holder, but if that is another thing that machine has got that the other one hasn't, maybe. My thoughts. Tell me if I'm wrong. I generally am. Peter McKenna is back at work. Thank God. Yeah, thank God indeed. Good to have you back in the working world, Peter. Kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, but with a backhoe loader, you need an operator that's capable of doing various jobs from faults to levelling to drainage. Yeah, you absolutely do. A proper jack of all trades, as they say. That is some bucket on the XCMG. It most certainly is. And I did say I didn't choose the music for the XCMG film, but it seems like it was quite popular in some areas. Sounds like a war dance, that music. Well, the Chinese are coming, and maybe they're coming for a fight. I don't know. Old Chinese man got the sprockets in the correct place. That sounded like the beginning of a Confucius proverb. Old Chinese man say sprockets at the rear, or something. James Noble says, I spent years on a Cat 428. We used to call them Can You Just Machine? We used to call them Can You Just Machines. Dig, load, move, and unload with these pesky forks. To show you how old I am, when Caterpillar first entered the backhoe loader market, they hosted a press launch here in the UK at a place called Great Foster's Hotel near Windsor, sort of Runnymede way, or over that way anyway. And I was one of the hosts. I was that man. That would have been very, very early 90s, sort of 91, 92, something like that, when Caterpillar actually threw its hat into the backhoe loader ring. Al Grierson is a fan of the Mongolian throat singing. Didn't think I'd ever see a day where we had Mongolian throat singing on a show that generally deals with backhoe loaders. Stephen Guthrie has obviously got out of the right side of the bed this morning. What a beautiful morning, folks. It is now that you're here, Steve. Yeah, absolutely. You've improved my day, sir. Hope you have a good rest of the day as well. Gary Muirhead, rather less impressed with the Chinese or the Mongolian throat singer, needs to stay off the fags, he suggests. I think we dealt with this one. My personal feeling, and I'll reiterate what I just said about backhoe loaders and excavators. I honestly don't believe there is a huge amount to choose between a Komatsu, a Hitachi, a Cat, and an XCMG and a Lugon. There will be differences, and I think the biggest thing standing in the way of XCMG when they do finally make landfall here in the UK will be that wariness, and I do think that wariness only needs one or two bold customers to say, sod it, let's give one a go. Let's buy ourselves an XCMG. Let's see how it performs. And the day that they go back and say, actually, we'll have another one. That one was absolutely brilliant. That's when you start to see it making inroads. It's a perception thing, and I'm surprised that perception still exists. I've said this before. I'm old enough to have been around when Komatsu and Hitachi and the other Japanese manufacturers first started arriving in the UK with their excavators and then mini excavators as a result, and they were dismissed. They were boxy, they would rust, and so on down the line. Who would you go to for an excavator now? I would imagine that Komatsu and Hitachi would both be in your top 3 or 4. We had exactly the same thing when the Koreans made landfall, and now look at Develon and Hyundai and so on down the line. Awesome machines, awesome companies. We don't bat an eyelid. The Chinese will be the same. I mean, I think Lugong is already over that hurdle. I think Sany still has some work to do, but I think XCMG will do exactly the same. They will knock that hurdle down. That singer sounds like he needs to go to the bog. Instrumental sounds Irish. Okay. The Mongolian throat warbler did nothing to sell the Chinese product. Yeah, and again, I do wonder. I have had quite a few dealings with XCMG now, and they're an absolute joy to deal with. Very, very helpful, very hospitable. They pay their bills faster than just about anybody else. Can't knock them at all. They do have a couple of issues though, and one of them is the fact that they are very Chinese, and things like that. Putting that music on that, I'm not saying that's going to stop sales. I'm not being that naive, but they have used music that is very specific to a very specific part of the world. They need to take a more international view, and I think that becomes even more evident. I've now worked with them at 2 Baumas and a Conexpo, and the best work that we've done for them and with them was at the latest Conexpo, because they put me in with an American rather than the Chinese. The Chinese are really, really, really nice people, but the language barrier is a real issue. And I think if you're in the market for an excavator or a dump truck or whatever it might be, and you walk onto a stand and you can't make yourself understood what you're looking for, and the person that's selling it can't make themselves understood whether they've actually understood what you're after, I think that's going to be a stumbling block. I think where that changes is, as I say, we already know that XCMG are coming to Plant Works. Once we've got a UK dealer, possibly more than one, but once we've got a UK dealer that can act as the go-between, the conduit between customer and manufacturer, I think that's where we start to make inroads. Either way, Ken Hatcher believes the Chinese are taking over the world. Yeah, but we've been here before. We've been here before with the Japanese, and not just in construction equipment. Think of the car market, think of the shipping market, think of the computer market and the tech, the TVs and stuff like that. We've been here before. The Chinese will be no different. Jim Turner, somewhat late, but he's forgiven because he is Jim Turner, but says good morning indeed. And Nigel Williams says he wants to take an XCMG grader out. They're a serious machine out there. They really are, yeah. To be honest, the one thing I've operated an XCMG electric excavator and an XCMG mini excavator, both in exhibition, so I wasn't operating properly. But I've got to be honest, if you'd have blindfolded me and told me I was operating, I don't know, a Kubota or a Takuchi, I'd have believed you. I couldn't feel the difference. Obviously, I don't operate anywhere near often enough to make a proper decision on that, but I couldn't tell the difference. Kerry Jones says lots of standing excavators on Heads of Valley, and lots of Carter being sold now. Carter, I hadn't seen Carter up close and personal until I was at Samota last month, and they look absolutely fine. Kerry, if you can let me know who's selling Carter machines here in the UK, I'd love to hear it, because more than happy to feature them on the show. All helps to keep it fresh. Nigel Williams says, the alien bucket. I've been impressed by its capacity and ability. Not sure why it's an alien bucket, but it certainly is a tool. And wow, that is some bucket and looks the part. And Jim Turner says, plenty of meat on that. I think he's talking about the bucket and not me, I'd like to think. Let's have a look. It defeats the purpose that they use fossil fuel to get the energy to charge them. So it's as much as a much. There is, funnily enough, before I came on the show this morning, I'm actually writing an article about what is potentially the biggest stumbling block standing in the way of the more widespread adoption of electric machines. And it's not resale value. It's not concerns about what happens to the batteries at the end of their life. It's not the finite resource that is lithium ion. The biggest stumbling block, in my mind, is going to be the UK government. Why? Well, since we did away with red diesel, I'm giving away the real meat of my article. I probably shouldn't do this, but since we did away with red diesel and the subsidy that provided, we are now lumped in. Construction and quarrying and demolition and mining in the UK, we're all lumped in to paying the same duty on our diesel as those that are driving diesel cars and petrol cars and so on down the line, which is a big money spinner for the UK government. Huge amounts of money. If we continue to adopt electric cars and electric equipment at the rate that we're currently doing, the government could be looking down the barrel of a £10 billion per year shortfall in duty. Does the UK government strike you as the type of organisation that is going to just let £10 billion slip through its fingers, particularly at a time when it can't even afford to pay nurses a decent working wage? So, what happens next? Do they impose a duty on electricity, which is going to be a bit of a problem for all those people that thought they were dead clever going to buy themselves a Tesla? Or do they find another way of recouping their losses? Either way, I do think they could be a very big stumbling block, both for electric vehicles, cars, vans, trucks, but electric construction equipment as well. You can read more about that on Monday, I hope, when I intend to release that article that I've not finished writing yet. If anybody's got any thoughts on that to add to my article, I'd love to hear from you. Large companies like Flurry have solar charging for their electric machines. I still think hydrogen will be the game changer for both on-road and off-road vehicles. I do too, although incidentally, I mentioned the fact that we're going to we're going to be talking later on today on the Construction Equipment News Show about the fact that the 23-ton Volvo electric excavator is going to be made available here in the UK. They launched it way back 2 years ago, must be 2 years ago, in China, because it was specifically for the Chinese market. But there is a demand here in Europe. I know they've already sold one, possibly two, up in Norway, but they've decided to launch it here. I personally believe that hydrogen will be the game changer, but you've only got to look at the lack of infrastructure, and B, when you look at the hydrogen machines that we've seen so far from JCB, from Hyundai, from Liebherr, they're not finished. They're not the real deal yet. We've still got a long way to go. And we've still got to go about our business, and we've still got to reduce emissions. My personal feeling is we will have a lot of electric, possibly up to the 15, or in Volvo's case, 23-ton class. And when hydrogen really arrives, I think the electric will shrink down and possibly become just the compact market, and hydrogen will do the rest. But we don't actually have the hydrogen system in place yet. If you went and bought a hydrogen machine tomorrow, where on earth would you fuel it? I don't know. You always need to write good ideas and dreams down straight away before they fall out of your head. It goes back to my lack of sleep last night. I used to sleep for many, many years. I used to sleep with a reporter's notebook and a pen beside my bed, because I often used to half dream, I guess, intros and outros for articles. Because, I mean, I've been writing forever. And sometimes you just, I think in your subconscious, you're mulling over what it is you're about to write about, and your brain goes, well, here's a good way to start it. You should start with this. So I used to scribble it down. But it got to the point where, as I got older, I don't think I properly sat up or thought through what I was about to write. And I would get up the following morning, look at the notepad and think, well, I've written something down, but I haven't got the foggiest idea what it's about. So I don't do that anymore. The strangest thing I've ever heard was a CSCS card holder claiming he was competent. Rely on Mick Norton to go back to basics. What does Peter McKinnon say? How did you find the procedure, Mark? Utterly pleasant. I mentioned it yesterday. I know you missed the show yesterday. Slept through the entire thing. I didn't feel a thing. Haven't felt a thing since. Absolutely fine and dandy. I said it yesterday, and I'm going to say it again today. If you are a man of a certain age, i.e. the top side of 50, like yours truly, and somebody says prostate exams or colonoscopies or whatever it might be, just say yes. It's not a big deal. It really isn't. And as somebody said on the show yesterday, I can't remember who it was, but somebody said yesterday, there are some people that would actually pay extra for that. I didn't. But it was fine, honestly. Nick Drew says, yeah, just another working day tomorrow and probably Sunday too, but heading off for a skate on Monday on my way up to Peters. That will be Mr. Havoc. I wonder what those two are up to. We need to check. Had a dream that would make a great film. I had to write it down straight away before I forgot it. I just need a producer to buy it off me and I'll be quids in. I'm not going to ask you to reveal it. Here's a thing. I was listening to a podcast a couple of days ago. And there's a guy talking about the fact he's a YouTuber, and he was talking about the fact that he had this great idea for a movie, and he'd taken it to various production companies and couldn't sell it for love nor money. And when he explained what the story was, I was sat there thinking, I'd watch that. And basically, the premise of the thing is there is a photographer who is told that he is going to lose his sight. I can't remember the exact circumstances, but he basically, his sight is fading, and therefore, he won't be able to do that thing that he loves, i.e. photography. So his friends band together to take him all over the place to film and photograph things that he'd always wanted to film and photograph before he lost his sight. To my mind, that's a blinding, I can't believe I just said that. That's a fantastic movie just waiting to happen. He couldn't sell it for love nor money. But Jim, I'm sure yours is even better than that. I'm trying, but not very open to trying new things. Not sure what that's all about. The question of the day, Dan, was, what is the strangest thing you've seen or heard? Mine was hearing a conversation that went, if they start trouble, don't worry, if they start trouble, we have baguettes. And Gary Muirhead topped that without even batting an eyelid with his tales of a cross-dressing JCB operator. If you've got anything, please. I've noticed, Dan, shame really, I've approached loads and still no go. Some even have their own group set up, so maybe that's a problem. There's another conversation going on over there, I think. Bye, all have a great day. You too, Peter. Look after yourself. All-round best backhoe loader, says Jim Turner, is the 3CX. Best pusher has always been the Cat. Worst thing about JCB is the extra dig slides for inside the stick. It'd be better if it wrapped around the stick like the Cat and other manufacturers. but you're still sticking with the 3CX like a true Brit, I'm glad to see. Transporting machines is easy with flatbed trucks and Powfinger cranes, so mobility of the backhoe loader is not required. All true. Nigel Williams is, I think, applauding. I'm not entirely sure. And he goes on to say, I've got the skills, not found anything yet, I can't drive well. He said modestly. And if you're on the road a lot, a duck with a tilt rotator will do the job. If the machine is bigger, you can also do the pallet full stuff as well. Says Al Grierson, who is speaking up for the slightly quirky way that Luxembourgians go about the business. The 180 backhoe loader is a specialism that only a few truly master. Company I was working for, hesitant on getting new implementation of machines, which in my opinion would be useful for the types of jobs that we do. I do think that's a constant challenge, and I wonder if that's been exacerbated in the age in which we live. When you've got, I'm not going to say this show, but you've got stuff like this. You know, you guys that are really passionate about plant and equipment, who spend their lives on Facebook and on TikTok and on Twitter and on YouTube and stuff, checking out all that's new. And I would imagine there are a fair few among you, and I'm going to relate it specifically to things like tilt rotators, but I'm sure there's more than that, where you see a bit of equipment and you think, God, that would make my life so much easier. And you take it to your boss and the boss goes, yeah, that must be deeply frustrating. But as I say, particularly now when we've got such wide access to all of that information. If that's the case, people, let me know. Nothing in them these days. Cab niceties makes them more appealing to operators, like the venerable Komatsu. It's a great digger, but basic. No Bluetooth or connectivity in this 2022 PC238. No Bluetooth in a 2022 machine. Surely that's an oversight, isn't it? Unfortunately, the many add-ons you mentioned compromise safety in the mad dash to sell the product. It is clutter, I will grant you that. It is especially when the foreman asked if we want to finish at 4 rather than 7. Music to my ears. Hope everyone has a cracking weekend. To a new job finally out this Hydrema, says Stephen. What's wrong with a Hydrema? Lovely place to be. Okay, I'm going to take it. I'm going to guess there's not many Mongolians listening, so I'm going to give this a go. Batzarig Vanching is a fantastic singer. Check out Chinggis Khani Magtal from him on YouTube. Do you know, I'm going to do that. I'll let you know. Let's have a look. Everything in your house is Chinese made. Guilty as charged. Mick Norton says, if John Deere can't get into the UK market, what chance the Chinese? Chinese are here. The Chinese are here. Sandy's here. Lugong's here. They're already here. There is no hurdle. They've already made it. Who have we got here? M&M plant in Devon and Cornwall. Morning. Did we miss to talk about the case construction equipment backhoes? Who's coming to the Royal Cornwall show? So many questions. Yes, you did miss to talk about the case construction equipment backhoes, and they are very popular. Who's coming to the Royal Cornwall show? My guess is Mr. Drew will be going to the Royal Cornwall show. I don't know if he's still in the chat. Can't see him. But if anybody else is going to the Royal Cornwall show, please go and pay a visit to M&M Plant, Devon and Cornwall, to talk all things case backhoe loaders and anything else that takes your fancy. Good morning, gents and ladies. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. Carter Excavators UK and Ireland, aka Matthew Davis, MD Plant and Tractor Sale. Thank you very much indeed for that, Kerry. I will go and give them a look up. I'm yet to see a Sunwood yet operate one. I've operated one. Excuse me. I've operated 3 actually, and they're fine. One of the machines that I operated was one of the very, very small ones, and it was a canopy rather than a cab. And I do like my home comforts. That felt a little bit primitive, I have to say. But the bigger ones, and there was, I'm trying to remember the model number, but there's one that's got kind of curved glass and the curved door. Oh, it's a lovely bit of kit. Absolutely lovely bit of kit. With both hydrogen and EVs, it is the positive infrastructure that will be the biggest stumbling block, or the UK government. Read my column on Monday. I think the backhoe will come back due to the fuel cost. Interesting point. Yeah, if you're only going to take one machine to the job and one machine can do the job rather than two or possibly three, I can see that. Well said, Craig. Question today. I've seen a guy have an argument with a certain company about money, and he did a did a piss and one of those things in a cab and broke all the windows on the machine. Okay. Seems a little extreme, but hey, I've been frustrated before. Never gone that far. But, hi, Dreamer. 912G dump truck is the best seat in the world. 25 years in the game, says Nigel Williams. And yes, going back to our friends at M&M plant, Devon and Cornwall, the mighty. I mean, let's be honest. The Royal Cornwall Show only needs one visitor, and it's that guy, Nick Drew. If Nick Drew is there, there ain't no party like a Nick Drew party. The Royal Devon and Cornwall Show. Did I call it the right name? Let me go back. The Royal Cornwall Show. Sorry, the Royal Cornwall Show is safe because Nick Drew will be in attendance. M&M. I'm sure you guys at M&M M&M plant Devon and Cornwall know Nick Drew very well indeed because he's on your doorstep. But invite him, treat him lovingly. He deserves it. People, that's going to do me for now. I do have my afternoon show today. And there's another one. Craig Williams is going to be there as well. Half tempted to go myself now, actually. But I have to do this. I don't have to, but I do this. I'm going to be back at 1 p.m. today for our construction equipment news show. As I say, we've got something new and exciting from the fine folks at Volvo. They have a little bit of X-Watch on the show as well, if that's the kind of thing you're into. Is Nick for Plantworks? Is Nick for Plantworks? If that means is Nick going to Plantworks, try to keep him away. Plantworks can't start until Nick Drew arrives. There is a law. I don't know who wrote the law. Me probably, but Nick Drew will be there. My understanding is he will be there all 3 days, and you'll be able to spot him because he whizzes around like some whirling dervish. You'll know what he looks like anyway. But yes, Nick Drew will most certainly be at Plantworks, and as it turns out, he'll be at the Royal Cornwall Show as well. Hope I'll find time to have by all. As I said, I'm going to be back here at 1 this afternoon for the construction equipment news show. Live and direct into your eye holes and your ear balls or something. And then we'll be back again on Monday morning for yet more of whatever the hell this is. Until then, everybody, have a fantastic weekend. Really enjoyed your company today. I'm going to look for more strange things so that I can revisit our question of the day at some point in the future with something new that doesn't relate to fights and baguettes and cross-dressing 3CX operators. Till then, everybody, have a fantastic time. I'll see you all very soon. All the best.